It's been requested since launch, it's been made by custom makers, but now we have one straight from an official accessory manufacturer. Hori brings us a D-pad Joy-Con, but with quite a few caveats. What's going on, everybody? It's Zach from Switchforce. Gabe is here, and last night, accessory manufacturer Hori announced that there would be a licensed left Joy-Con with a D-pad. Now, that's pretty exciting news, and frankly, it was surprising to me until I read the details, which are, 1, currently it is only going to be available in Japan this July, and it is missing many a feature. First off, it only works in handheld mode, so it cannot be used as a split Joy-Con, as a grip, or as single local multiplayer. It does not have any HD rumble. It does not have any gyroscope. There are no SL or SR buttons, no sync or player LED lights, and, as I mentioned, it has to be docked, and it's blue. It's an odd blue that doesn't necessarily match with any of the other Joy-Con, except potentially a nice mix with the Mario Odyssey red. It's about $24 if you translate the yen cost over to American dollars, but this is very interesting.
It is, and frankly, this isn't a solution that I would probably use just because so many of the cool features of Joy-Con are going to be missing. $24 for a single Joy-Con makes sense because, you know, they are expensive controllers, but all the limitations that you listed, they're a little too much for me.
Yeah, it's a very odd decision, and I think that's, for me, where the discussion comes in. You know, Hori has worked with Nintendo extensively in the past and here with licensed Switch accessories, Pro controllers, and other things. We've covered some of them, and you know they're very affordable. They're not necessarily of the most quality, but for cheaper options, you know they're serviceable. Do you think that this in any way indicates that Nintendo maybe wants to reserve the right to do it correctly themselves?
It's an interesting question. Do I think that eventually Nintendo releases a Joy-Con with a D-pad? Yes, I do think so. It's just timing, right? Maybe they wait for a revision that, you know, we don't even know if that's happening. Or maybe Joy-Con Pro, something, right? There's so many possibilities that I don't necessarily want to like lean towards one like any heavier than another. But
Right.
I do think that Nintendo eventually has their own Joy-Con with their own D-pad.
Yeah, and for me, it's two potential options here. One is that Nintendo wants to eventually, or at least reserve the right to eventually do this full on and have it be exciting for them. The other is that they want to make sure that the official Nintendo Joy-Con pairs are the main thing people buy, and they're not going to really delve too deeply into third-party Joy-Con at cheaper rates because the controllers are already so pricey. That instantly makes these things appealing. So if they make sure that they're hamstrung in a large enough capacity, it's not as attractive of a purchase. So it's basically like, hey, yes, you can buy this for $25 or whatever it ends up being, but it's really not everything the Joy-Con is meant to be. I mean, it literally can only be used if it's in handheld mode. It can't even be used docked, which is how Nintendo advertises this as a home console. To me, it seems like a very intentional maneuver, either to eventually release a D-pad, but personally, I don't think that happens anytime soon. Or just to ensure that, hey, the Nintendo Joy-Con on the shelf look like the number one option, leaps above the rest, since they do want to get that, you know, first-party purchase and that first-party price point. The other possibility, and it's a pretty obvious one, but it could be the answer, is that Hori just wanted to keep cost as low as possible, and by removing HD rumble, by removing gyroscope, by removing wireless, you're able to boil this down. Seems like it at that point could have got cheaper, but they know that given the price of the official Joy-Con, $25 still seems pretty attractive.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. I also hope that when Nintendo does inevitably do this D-pad thing, because I feel like they will, it'll be completely separate from this, right? Like they'll label it something different, and like Hori, maybe they'll only sell the left one, and you know the right one, there's nothing wrong with it, and even this one, there's nothing wrong with it necessarily. I don't hate this like D-pad, but I also use the Pro controller a lot,
Right.
So that's my solution for docked, you know, gameplay, and maybe that's what Nintendo wants. They're like, hey, you want like a real D-pad? Just get the Pro controller, like.
Yeah, and that's a very valid point as well. And I think a lot of this is business decision, monetary decision. The other side of the coin is it does offer a D-pad. It is pretty cheap, and most of the games that I would imagine people would want D-pads for, a lot of the indie stuff, maybe if there's eventual virtual console, probably going to be played handheld anyways. So there probably is a portion of the audience that is excited by this, doesn't care that it can't be used wirelessly or for multiplayer or anything of that sort, and is just happy to have an official, or at least semi-official, I guess, D-pad without having to make some sort of, modification yourself and mess with the structure of the Joy-Con and try to squeeze a D-pad in. And that's been done. We've seen that on Etsy and Instagram. But I think there are people that will be pretty pumped by this and that use their Joy-Con as more of a portable, more of an indie machine. For me, I'm never using the D-pad for Mario, but Celeste, it'd be nice.
Yeah. I mean, certain games do lend themselves to this a little bit better. The Messenger is an upcoming game that we're both very excited about, and Press seems to be really into. And a game like that, while playing portable, a D-pad would be really, really nice.
Hopefully the D-pad is of quality. We did try out the Hori Pro controller, and I wasn't the biggest fan of that one. But we're definitely going to do whatever we can to get our hands on this. It's available in Japan in July. Hopefully it's available worldwide shortly after, but if we need to, we will import it to give you guys impressions and a review. In the meantime, let us know what you think. Are you interested in picking this up? Would you want to buy a very one-track purpose Joy-Con that's an odd color for $25, or is this something that you will rather wait and see if Nintendo does it officially or skip over entirely? At the very least, it is an option for another Joy-Con. Unfortunately, the main reason you'd probably want another Joy-Con is for multiplayer, and kind of defeats that purpose. But hey, for those D-pad aficionados, you now have your answer. Let us know your take in the comments down below, everybody. Thanks so much for watching. Fantastic day. Make sure to subscribe to stay up to date on all the latest and greatest from the Switch and sweet updates like this one. Follow us on Twitter and Discord. Links in the description below. Until next time, everybody, have a fantastic day. For myself and Gabe, Switch Force out.